Welcome everyone to another Universe Reviews. We're back on track after doing Star Wars. I was going to town on that, doing that for the next 2 weeks, and now here we're back to the Arrowverse. And as I start this, you will see me break down the seasons as I need to and cover where the story leads, what happens, and where these characters cross over and change throughout their important story arcs. So this is a spoiler-filled recap, so if you're interested in a general review, I made one and it's called my Arrow Season 2 review. The link is down below. But I also would like to put a further addendum on this and tell you that I'm not going to be able to cover everything in Season 2, especially Season 2, because, oh my god, so many characters, so much happened. But nevertheless, the second season could be recapped on its own. It doesn't need to cross over with anyone, but it does introduce us to a new character, Barry Allen, who will get his own show after this season. But for now, Season 2 is just its full season recap. Here we are at episode 1, and Oliver has given up on being the Hood for a while, and literally marooned himself back on the same island he was trapped on for 5 years. Felicity and Diggle go over there to say, hey, come back, and so he comes back. He finds out a group of vigilantes are carrying the Hood's work by being more brutal than the Hood himself, and Oliver doesn't quite suit up right away to combat this. Once the wannabe Hoods take Oliver's sister, Oliver's like, nope, that's not happening. And then he finally takes action, not without vowing a restraint on killing his enemies. This inspires Thea to visit her mother in jail, who is answering for the crimes that she has admitted on national television under the influence of Malcolm Merlyn. Onwards from episode 1 and throughout 2 through 7, he also learns that the earthquake has released a few inmates that Quentin and the Arrow have put away, and they're causing some trouble. On top of that, Oliver has a hard time dealing with his double life on a more official means due to his family's company going under since the earthquake, and his mother being now in prison, keeping up with appearances, barely, with Sebastian Blood and Isabel Roshev. Isabel looks like she's trying to save the company of Queen Consolidated, and Sebastian speaks for the people of the violence in the Glades. And a subplot has been introduced in all this in a string of episodes where a new masked vigilante is going around saving people. While Oliver has made restraining efforts to keep the bad people alive, the Canary has no problem killing people, but the identity of the Canary is one of the most complex and interesting, if not integral, aspects of this show thus far. The Canary is the long-lost daughter of Quentin Lance and sister Laurel Lance. We're talking about some drama heading our way. Sarah Lance's identity is under wraps, but eventually she is forced to reveal herself to her father. Secrets are kept, of course. While this subplot remains prominent with the main story, it also marries into the flashbacks. Sarah is revealed to have survived the shipwreck and is rescued and brought aboard the Amazio with a Dr. Anthony Ivo, who seeks to save humanity and keeps Sarah as an accomplice. Sarah later joins with Oliver, Slade, and Shadow in a series of events that is heavy in a World War II sub, and they were secretly transporting a secret serum for human enhancement. While Ivo was looking for it, Sarah manipulates Oliver in giving up the location of his friends to reach the World War II sub. The 7th episode ends up revealing that Malcolm Merlyn, who is alive and well, by the way, is the biological father to Thea. Dun dun dun! And Malcolm Merlyn rigged the trial against Moira. Dun dun dun! So Moira is free, Malcolm is back, and things are heating up. Episode 8 and 9 are interesting ones. This particular story arc introduces Barry Allen, and this actually adds more of a super meta human storyline to the grounded Arrowverse, to where Brother Blood is injecting people with a serum that is making his subjects super strong. Where Brother Blood is getting the blood from, which sounds heavily redundant, is a mystery at this point, but Oliver knows that he has fought someone once before with this type of strength. On the island, Oliver faces a difficult task of saving Slade by using the same formula being pursued by Ivo. When Slade succumbs to his wounds, Oliver takes the risk and injects Slade with the serum. Directly after that, Ivo makes Oliver choose between Shadow and Sarah, Ultimately, no choice is made, and Shadow is killed. Slade revives and kills Ivo's men, but of course, the bad guys get to see another day. These last 2 episodes of the same story arc, and it's the 3 Ghosts episode that has a lot of personal story elements for Oliver. Even for Barry. As we get to know him, he is on a quest to find odd cases and to find out how to exonerate his father. But not everyone comes out of the story alive. That shit was kinda sad. And Barry gets his powers in this episode too. Or so we think. Could have been a tragic episode if Flash never got its spin-off. Poor Barry would have just died. Episodes 10 through 13 continue from the storyline of Oliver looking for the man in the skull mask, which really doesn't look like a skull mask, but who cares? But that takes a back seat for all the random villains of the week. Roy, Thea's boyfriend, who I've neglected to talk about until this point, has powers due to the 2-part episode with Barry Allen. He has been trying to keep his anger and powers under check, but this gives way to Thea finding out. He is also trained by Arrow for all intents and purposes to help him, but eventually we all know he's going to become his partner. Laurel is actually losing it, and from each episode she sinks deeper and deeper into herself, getting drunk or taking pills. And a mysterious Amanda Waller is recruiting, and we all know what Amanda Waller is all a part of. No, not that one. And on the island, Slade is losing it before Oliver helps him come to his senses. But the biggest pull from this is Oliver finding out from Felicity as she was doing some digging that Thea is Malcolm's daughter. This puts a strain on Oliver and Moira. Speaking of Moira, she encourages and decides for herself she is going to run for mayor against Sebastian Blood, who is, of course, you guessed it, the Blood Brother, or Brother Blood, or just not the... Never mind. Side note, because, you know, Oliver Arrow doesn't know Sebastian is the dude with the skull mask. They kind of form an alliance. So that's what you get when one persona has to make nice to the guy who's running for mayor. Okay, so besides the villain of the week, there are some matters that have affected the team. Diggle is always the awesome emotional support. We feel Felicity is getting feelings over Oliver, but it's unconfirmed. Oliver is hooking back up with Sarah, who has returned. Again. That was back in episode 13. But here, the drama gets thick! Quentin wants to get back together with his ex-wife. The ex-wife, Diana, is already seeing someone. Laurel finds out that Sarah and Oliver are back together again. Oliver is trying to be there for Laurel, but of course that leads into an argument. Then you get some random dude over there that went, oh well, screw that. Huh? What? Oh, no. By the end of episode 14, Slade Wilson reveals himself to Oliver's mother and Oliver himself. This is just getting started. Episode 15 goes back and forth between the island and present time. Oliver deals with Slade Wilson getting our tour of the Queen Mansion while the flashbacks show how the confrontation arose between Oliver and Slade. Upon the inception of Slade, Oliver and Sarah's siege to overtake the freighter goes south. Slade finds out that Oliver was forced to decide between Shadow and Sarah. Then, of course, Slade then botches the mission, takes Oliver, cuts Ivo's hand off, and takes over the ship and makes a promise to Oliver saying that he will make him pay for everything before he kills him. At the home, the tour continues, and with some excellent timing, everyone shows up at the mansion around the same time and hopes to extract Wilson. None of this works out, of course, but it does show a side of Slade as he bugs the entire house, keeping a closer tab on the Queen family. But let me just comment on the fact that the moment Sarah shows up, which Slade knows she was alive this entire time, I just love this face Slade makes. Whew, look at that face. That face looks so surprised, yet I know you're right there. What are you doing? Episode 16 features the Suicide Squad, and just when I thought John Diggle was going to be stuck being the mediator, he becomes the guy in charge of this task force, or shall we know it as Task Force X. The story matters, but it really is not worth noting here except for who is a part of the Suicide Squad, which is Deadshot, Bronze Tiger, and Shrapnel. All characters you met throughout this season. The story is pretty much just self-contained. Oh, and there's a nice little shout out to Harley Quinn in there. If you ever watch this, keep your eye out for it. Episode 17, The Huntress returns. Hard to say if anything relevant comes out of this episode, but other than the Huntress coming back when her father resurfaces, it delivers more action, resolution, and then we just Move on. Episode 18, Deathstroke comes into full circle and he takes advantage of Oliver's mistakes. Oliver tells Roy to stay away from Thea. Roy tries to enact that, but it just upsets Thea. Thea is picked up by Slade, and then Slade kidnaps her and reveals her over to Brother Blood. See, it's Blood Brother or Brother... Whatever, man. Sebastian is starting to lose the position for mayor. Moira and Oliver reconcile the secrets being kept from one another. Slade pays another visit to one of our wonderful characters, Laurel, and reveals that Oliver is the Arrow. Thea finds out that Malcolm Merlyn is the biological father. Again, the drama is thick! Oh, and Isabel is granted status of CEO and was revealed to be working with Slade. Don't you wish that Oliver recounted his idea for not killing people? Episodes 19 through 23. It's crunch time, so if I don't mention everything, please let me know in the comments below. Keep in mind, the flashbacks into the island is all good, but merely formalities at this point, knowing what's about to come and how it all plays out now that Slade is off his rocker, hell-bent on revenge, and will do anything to get it. In the present, Oliver retaliates against Slade by blowing up the applied sciences to make sure Slade can't use that to his advantage, since, you know, he took a bunch of prisoners to enhance. Who knows if that tactic even worked? In this case, it didn't, as Deathstroke goes to Central City, where two new characters, potentially a part of this Flash spin-off, Caitlin Snow and Cisco Ramon, get caught in the crossfire of Deathstroke's plans. More mentions of Barry, but still absent and in a coma. Deathstroke uses a distributor stolen from Star Labs to transfer his blood to the inmates, but that doesn't seem to be the case when it's Roy being used. Arrow comes in, stops it, not before Isabel is shot by Diggle, but no worries, she ain't dead cause Slade uses the serum to revive Isabel. Episode 20, Roy goes on a rampage after being used. Thea is bitter against Oliver and Moira because she now knows Malcolm Merlyn is the father, and, you know, there's nothing really to see here, just a Roy-centered episode in the aftermath of things. Or not. Slade comes in, holds Thea and Moira hostage, making Oliver choose between the two, just like Ivo did. Moira cuts the shit and nominates herself, and Slade stabs her. Another one bites the dust. First Tommy, and now Moira. Now, the funny thing is that Laurel found out that Oliver was Arrow quite a few episodes ago, but not much happens with her. She holds on to it for a while, and then by this episode, episode 20, she reveals that she knows. Proof that Sebastian is working with Slade is slowly uncovered, thanks to Laurel. Flashbacks are growing in tension, but you do see a character that Oliver now knows in the present, Anatoly, who actually helped him on the island, and he actually kind of vows his allegiance to Oliver. If he ever got off the island, he will help him, no problem. But, of course, Slade is driven by hate and rage, especially since he has the Murakuru serum in him. Here we are, to the finale. Slade has made a small army of really strong men and begin to terrorize the city. A cure is made, but Slade gets to it first before Oliver. But Slade, in a drunken rage against Oliver, gives Sebastian second thoughts and gives the cure to Oliver instead. This betrayal gets Sebastian killed by Isabel. I still don't know why she came back or how she's alive. Oh, sometimes this show does make some weird decisions. Malcolm returns to save Thea and try to talk to her and trusting him because, you know, she is his real daughter. Sarah and Laurel have an understanding about one another, and Laurel gives Sarah the name Canary. Isabel is killed by Nisa? Oh boy. The daughter of Ra's al Ghul. I'm going to say that because I stink at pronouncing names. Sarah's leader and maybe lover? I don't know. Sarah goes off with her accepting who she is. Slade's plan is thwarted and placed in an underground Argus prison on the same island they were on. Roy is cured early on and of course helps Oliver in this, but Thea finds out he really hasn't given up on his ideas of fighting and such, so she leaves him. But the real big oh no is Quentin collapsing due to his injuries being more critical. Despite his mobility throughout the events, he finally succumbs. But the flashbacks execute and resolve our characters' animosity against each other, with Oliver presumably killing Slade. Oliver then finds himself in Hong Kong, meeting Amanda Waller for the first time. And so here we are at the finale, and I'm gonna be be honest with you, this was a difficult season to recap, to talk about, as I have found that there was a lot of characters to cover. So many personal stories being juggled all at once. So if I forgot anything, don't be mad or ridiculed. Let me know down below what you think I should have mentioned. In the end, guys, this is where it gets tricky. Crossovers galore, and it starts with The Flash. And here's how I'm going to break this down. After this review, I will be getting into The Flash, covering only the first 7 episodes on here, Universe Reviews, but then I will be covering the first 8 episodes of Arrow and another episode of Universe Reviews, making one more separate video for the crossover event, which will be both a review and a recap. Of course, after that, I'll have 2 more videos covering the rest of The Flash and the Arrow, and don't worry, I'll be making general reviews for The Flash and Arrow Season 3, but this will be the last general review for Arrow Season 3. I mean, as we get deeper into the seasons, the less likely you're gonna worry about spoilers, as you know you're already with this season and you want to know what it's like, but with more detail. So keep an eye out for that. I would really like for this series of Universe Reviews to be a part of your world. So if you can please hit that like button if you enjoyed this, subscribe to help the cause further, to continue doing more reviews and recaps like this. Next recap review will be on The Flash, Season 1, Episodes 1 through 7, as I said earlier, and from here, it's just gonna get very interesting. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, until next time.